What's good, guys? The Novice. This is another Novice reviews movie review where I just talk about movies that are like at least at the youngest 20 plus years old. I try to make it like 30 plus years just because I want to, right? Halloween 1978. Right, guys. First off, I'm just gonna give my impressions of like the horror genre, and then give like a sentence, like how I would summarize this movie in a sentence, and then examples, like things I like and some things I don't like, right? So first off, my views on horror, I usually avoid it. I'm easily scared by stuff. I just have like memories when I was young. I just getting like immediately, um, like sleeping up at, looking up at like at my bed, just thinking about horrifying stuff, boogeyman stuff. I haven't seen fully any Freddy Krueger movies, but same thing. So that's my mentality. Going into this movie, I knew it was like an original because it came out 1978. I knew it was gonna be something that I would probably have to watch with a certain lens because the time and there were tropes in this movie, but I didn't mind it. I actually really liked this movie because the way I would summarize this movie in one sentence, it reminds you of the power of Mystique. What do I mean by that? Like holding things back, letting you use your imagination and letting like the movie like like power itself up because of that, and always making you like unsure if the movie's trying to go one way or the other through the characters because the characters don't seem like what they represent, especially Mike. I'm gonna give examples of that. So through his character. So the first example that came to mind, like that power of like mystery and holding back, but letting that give the movie power and the character of Mike Myers power. The flashback scene, right? I remember watching this. I say I remember. I just watched it. I was watching this and they were giving off like the creepy vibe, like someone watching the house, the Myers house, and he goes in and he's going through the house. You hear people talking. He's watching people, and the first thing that made me think, okay, this is the power of Mystique. When they show that is Michael as a child, I was like, what? I didn't see that. I completely thought this movie is gonna be like the most stereotypical slasher movie. It's a guy that's going like a Jason Friday the 13th. It's going through town, it's murdering people, yeah, killing. It's him as a 6-year old. Oh, that is disturbing as F. Holy sugar pants. That is so disturbing. So, that was the first thing, like that reveal, because the way they made it seem like this was just like some psycho, creepy killer. Like he was breathing hard. It was like the start of like multiple scenes in this movie where he's about to pounce on someone. You just say like the heavy breathing come up. They do the POV shot where they make it unclear whether it's it's him watching someone or if it's like a handheld camera shot of just following someone. All those things, but the thing, he's a child, 6 years old. Oh, sugar, that will never stop disturbing me. And it was that made me understand that horror doesn't have to just be this kind of. Even though this movie has a lot of like stereotypical tropes, horror and film itself, it doesn't have to be this straightforward ABC. It can really like pull the rug out from under you, and this is how it did it by making me think what kind of person, child, would do that at that age. What kind of like being? Because that's I'll get to it with another example. But let me just segue into another example. The POV shots, like the majority of this movie, is shot through like POV shots, and watching it, I've referenced the flashback scene obviously, but that the feeling of him just watching people, not even following them, just watching people, and the camera would turn like as if it's a human instead of. Shout out to the handheld camera. Whoever that handheld, I don't know if like they actually hired criminals and psychos to work on this movie, but it's like John Carpenter understands. See now I'm jumping because of random things. See, this movie has this effect on me. John Carpenter has this effect where it's almost like he has lived a life. I'm too scared to find out. He's lived that life himself, so he just knows that this is how you're meant to shake the camera when the girl goes past, and then when she starts undressing, you go closer. You go. I don't. No, thank you. I'm good. Yeah, this movie put me off a lot. I'm not. What am I saying? This movie just made me more like fearful of the idea of that kind of stalker type going through areas and killing people, that kind of mystery killer persona. And then another thing in this movie that made me think about like the power of mystique and like mystery was this idea throughout this movie that Mike is probably just a guy who might possibly just be like disturbed, like something horrible might have happened to him, and it might have just made him repressed. Like repress his, I don't know, his anxiety or whichever, maybe his sexuality. I don't know, because that's the vibe this movie kept telegraphing to me through him, like panting and breathing so hard, like he's beating off or some ish. It was like shout out to this movie and the sound in this movie. Because whenever he starts breathing, like, oh god, like, could you just kill someone already? It was that. How can a movie make me think that about someone? When you're so disturbing that I just want you to get over with and just brutally murder someone. That's great storytelling. I can't tell if it's great storytelling. Maybe it is. I think it's great storytelling. And then apart from that, those examples, I say the last. No, I pretty much said all I need to say. Yeah, it's just that's all the examples of like just how much those little things, even though they seem little, me saying them, watching the movie and them doing it over and over, like in the pattern, it just reminded you of like he's there, but he's not there. As well as physically showing him appear sometimes and then disappear. All that stuff was just like stereotypical horror trope stuff that I've seen in like the Scream movies and all that. But I'm guessing they were inspired by Michael Myers. One thing I do want to say as far as the flaws in this movie is this movie meant to be inspired by like a certain thing that was going on in this period. Obviously, I know it's a slasher, part of the slasher movie trend from the 80s, and this came out in the late 70s. But I don't mean that. I mean like something going on in the news. Was this the start of people starting to hear about kind of psycho killers, like mystery killers in the news? Because there was something about this movie that annoyed me, even though I knew like this was an OG horror classic movie. I don't understand how Michael was just roaming about and no one was catching him. The only person, it's maybe like a flaw I have. The character of what's his face, the psychiatrist, the therapist guy, when he told the police sheriff that no, don't alert everyone, otherwise they're gonna be looking at every house for him. I was like, what are you on about? This is a dangerous, mentally ill person. You should tell everybody. But it felt like it was using that and Mike being like so aloof and so like mysterious. It was using that to try and imply that this is not just about him as a human being one man on a manhunt, on a killing spree, I should say, and people doing a manhunt for him. It's the idea of him, right? That's what I felt this movie was trying to get at. It's the idea that someone can go through a town that's usually undisturbed and just completely wipe out a bunch of people. Whether it's Pennywise in the It movies, Freddy Krueger, it's always the kids as well. It's always kids or teenagers. I've noticed that. I'm guessing to represent like the innocence. But to me, all I got was if you're like a sexually promiscuous person, dead. If you even tried, dead. The first victim, open top, dead. So anyone who lacks to acknowledge this sexuality, you're just gonna die unless you're a nun or you've taken a vow of celibacy. I don't know where they're going with this whole incel porno type stuff, but that's the vibe they kept giving me. It just freaked me out. Guys, you tell me what you think down below. If you've seen this movie, do you like this movie? If you're watching, because obviously this is a spoiler review. This movie is how many years old? If you're watching and you haven't seen this movie, tell me what you think based on my thoughts, and would you watch it based on this recommendation? Other than that, please thumbs up this video, share it with as many people as you like, and feel free to check out some of my others. Salute, signing off.